VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon is a lot of fun to say, and that is reason enough to run this deck. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing my deck profile for Manjoume's V2Z Union deck, also running the new-ish, kind of new, not so new anymore, A to Z Dragon Buster Cannon. He doesn't run this card in the anime, of course, he is the V to Z deck, but this deck works really well. It is based on Manjoume's deck and is a heck of a lot of fun. So if you haven't already, be sure to check out the showcase video in which I showed off this deck in action. Without further ado, let's get straight into the deck. So first off, we have 2 copies of each of the ABC monsters. 2 copies of A, Assault Core, B, Buster Drake, and C, Crush Wyvern. These cards basically all have the same effect. They can all equip to each other and prevent destruction by battle, but what you want to look out for is their last effect. Their last effect all has something to do with getting another Union monster in your hand or special summoning it to the field. So A, Assault Core, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add another Union monster from your graveyard to your hand. B, Buster Drake, when sent to the graveyard, adds a Union monster from your deck to your hand. And then C, Crush Wyvern, when sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Union monster from your hand. So when summoning these guys or when adding them to your hand, you just want to keep this in mind, that you want to get out 2 monsters that have the most synergy with their effects to really get your combos going, especially if you can't get all 3 of them. Then the main ones you want to be going for is B, Buster Drake equipped with C, Crush Wyvern. However, also keep in mind that A, Assault Core has much higher attack of 1900, meaning it's less likely to be destroyed by battle, but its second effect is not as useful as B, Buster Drake's effect to add a Union monster from your deck to the hand. Next up, we have our V to Z package. We have 1 copy of V Tiger Jet, 1 copy of W Wing Catapult, 1 copy of X Head Cannon, 1 Y Dragon Head, and finally 1 Z Metal Tank. These cards, if you don't know what they do, Z and Y can equip to X Head Cannon to prevent it from being destroyed and give it a bit of an attack boost, and of course W equips to V Tiger Jet, doing the same thing. They're in the deck because we need them to summon our fusion monsters, our XYZ, our A to Z, and of course our VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon, which is still a lot of fun to say. Next up, we have our Ojama package. We have 3 copies. We have 1 copy of Ojama Black, 1 Ojama Green, and 1 Ojama Yellow. If you don't know why these cards are in here, you're going to find out soon. It just allows us, you do want 1 copy of each of them, and that allows us to very easily go into any of our fusion materials, any of our Union monsters, very easily get them on the field. And also Ojamas make really good discard fodders, which is fantastic for any of the A to Z fusion monsters, because they all have effects that require discarding. Next up, we have 1 copy of Silver Gadget and 1 Gold Gadget. These 2, you need 1 copy of each, you know, they work really well together, and when they're destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon the other one. These guys are just great in any level 4 machine deck, and they really help us to get our last combo pieces out, just to really get our combos going, and especially to go into any Link or XC summons. These guys are really fantastic for that, and that's the main reason that they're in there. However, you don't need to do that often. They're good additions to have, but we only really need 1 copy of them. You probably won't go into them that much, but when you do have them, they're always great to have. Finally, for our monsters, we have 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. For obvious reasons. Gotta stop the meta, gotta, you know, get rid of anything that adds cards from deck to hand. Ash Blossom, gotta have her. You may even want to include a 3rd copy, however, I found that 2 were enough for this deck. If you wanted to include a 3rd copy, I would take out either a Frontline base or a copy of XYZ combined, just to put in that 3rd copy of Ash Blossom. But I think that 2 works fine. 2 has gone fine for me. The only time I needed her, I had her in my hand, so that worked out quite well. Next up, let's go into the spells, but before we do, just like to shout out a quick announcement to check out my shop. We have new Manjoume designs on the merch shop at senkara.myspreadshop.com. Head over there or head to the link in the description or the link in the card up above, or the link, there's no link in the end screen, but maybe there will be, I don't know. But check out these new designs. They're all based on Manjoume, all for this Reign of Thunder deck series in which I am doing all of Manjoume's decks. Yeah, and if you're a fan of Manjoume, you definitely want to check out these new designs. I think they're really cool. I designed them myself. I personally did the drawings and made the designs myself, especially the one of myself as Manjoume, like wearing his clothes. I think that's pretty cool. Not my favorite, but hey, you gotta have it, you gotta have it. So if you want to check out any of those designs, we have 5 new Manjoume based designs in the Reign of Thunder collection. You can add them to any product on the shop. Simply go to the customize button at the top bar of the shop and you will be able to pick any product you want along with any design, put it wherever, however you like, or you can just scroll through the designs, pick a design you like and add it to a product right then and there. Just note that not all products will be showing for all designs, but if you want to put them on a different product, you can go to the customize option in order to do that. So please do check those out. If you're a fan of Manjoume, then I know that you are absolutely going to love these designs. I think they're really cool, personally. I really like them, so do check them out, and thank you very much. Moving on to these spells, we have, of course, 3 copies of Union Hanger. Union Hanger is a absolute must-have for this deck, for any A to Z deck, especially ABC decks. When this card is activated, you can add a Light Machine Union monster from your deck to the hand, and once per turn, if a Light Machine Union monster is normal or special summoned to your field, you can target one of those monsters and equip an appropriate Light Machine Union monster with a different name from your deck to that monster. So this card is just really fantastic for getting out all of your combo pieces, all your fusion materials. When it's activated, you can add pretty much anything from A to Z to your hand and just really gets the combo going. And of course, when you summon one, you then equip it with one of the others, which is great. This is especially fantastic for very easily getting out ABC. This gets out 2 of your materials right off the bat, and that's really all you need right there. Next up, of course, we have 1 copy of Terraforming to search our Union Hanger. And then to really finish the combo, we have 3 copies of Unauthorized Reactivation. This card will allow you to target 1 machine monster you control and equip an appropriate machine union monster from your hand or deck to that monster. So this card will basically allow us to get out our 3rd card. So use Union Hanger to get, say, a Assault Core to the hand, normal summon, equip it with the Buster Drake, and then use Unauthorized Reactivation to equip it with the Crush Wyvern. And then right off the bat, we have all 3 ABC monsters allowing us to go into our ABC Dragon Buster. So Unauthorized Reactivation is a must-have at 3. It is really great, and of course it also works with our VWXYZ monsters. If you have V Tiger Jet or X-Hit Cannon on the field, you can use Unauthorized Reactivation to get another fusion material, W-Wing Catapult or Y and Z. This card is really fantastic and is definitely, you have to have this card at 3. It is a really good card. Next up we have 2 copies of Frontline Base. This card is really good in this deck. I found that this deck definitely benefits from having the extra special summon, especially for going into ABC. This card will allow us to once per turn special summon a level 4 or lower union monster from our hand. This makes it really easy to just go into any of our fusion monsters. We only run it at 2 because of course you have to have said union monster in the hand in order to special summon it. It doesn't get anything from the deck, unlike Unauthorized Reactivation or Union Hanger. So we only run 2 copies of Frontline Base, but it is definitely very useful to have for that effect. I find, especially with ABC, if all you have is Union Hanger and, say, another monster in your hand, then Union Hanger gets you your 2nd ABC monster and your 3rd, but then you can't normal summon the last piece from your hand. So Frontline Base just allows you to go into that final piece for your fusion summon, or go into any of your union monsters, just getting an extra special summon which you can then use for a Link or Xyz summon as well. This is also a card that Manjoume does run in the anime, so it is definitely a good addition to this deck. Finally, we have 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is used to send A, B, or C to the graveyard. I did those in reverse order. A, B, or C to the graveyard because they can be fused or banished from the graveyard in order to summon our ABC Dragon Buster. So Foolish Burial definitely needed to send the final combo piece to your graveyard. It can also be used to send an Ojama to your graveyard to work with Ojama Simulation, but yeah, we really just wanted to get our ABC Dragon Buster. Next up, we have the Ojama package. We have 1 copy of Oja Magic. When this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add 1 each of Ojama green, yellow, and black from your deck to the hand. This deck has a lot of ways to discard this card from your hand. Basically, pretty much anything in our extra deck has an effect that discards, allowing you to go into Ode Magic very easily. If you have this card in your hand, you're gonna have a way to activate it. When this card is activated, you get all 3 copies of the Ojamas, which not only gives us a, 3 discard fodder cards, so, you know, you can basically use XYZ's effect 4 times just by having Ode Magic in your hand, easily destroying 4 of your opponent's cards. But it also allows us to go into Ojama Simulation. We have 2 copies of Ojama Simulation. If you don't know what this card does, it basically banishes Ojamas from our hand, field, or graveyard, and then allows us to summon all of the fusion materials for any Light Machine fusion monster from our hand, deck, or graveyard. Yes, from our hand, deck, or graveyard, you can special summon all 3, or all 2, or just 2, or 1 of the materials, depending on how many Ojamas we banish. Ojama Simulation is an absolute must-have for this deck. It is really fantastic card and works well with Ode Magic and the Ojamas. Just having this card allows you to go into all of your combos. Even if you can only summon 1 monster with this effect, it is still fantastic. Like I discussed before, we have a lot of cards that just get out 1 of our materials, so any card that allows you to get an extra 1 out is just really fantastic. The final thing to note with Ojama Simulation is its last effect. You can banish this card from the graveyard, target 3 of your banished Ojama monsters, shuffle them into the deck, and draw 1 card. This is of course great for just drawing more cards from your deck, and of course replenishes our hand for more discards with the effects of your fusion monsters. Next up we have 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More. This deck goes really well going second, and it goes well going first, but really pops off on the second turn, so having Dark Ruler No More is really fantastic, because if your opponent has any interruptions on their field in the form of monsters specifically, then, you know, you really want to stop all of that from happening. You don't want to be interrupted. You want to be able to go into one of your boss monsters that can very easily be disrupted by field effects, so Dark Ruler No More is really good to have for your second turn. I only run 2 copies of it. You may want to include a 3rd copy. It depends. Again, get rid of either a frontline base or an XYZ combine, most likely, or even one of your pots. But Dark Ruler No More is just really good to have, and, you know, once you've set up your field with your fusion monsters, you'll have a pretty easy time of controlling the field and controlling what your opponent does. That is the whole point of the XYZ VWXYZ deck. You know, it's all about controlling your opponent's field, so Dark Ruler No More just really helps to set up your field, which you can then use to, you know, control what your opponent does and just get rid of everything that they have. Next up we have 2 copies of Pot of Desires and 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. I run these at most as we can. You're not really worried about losing things from Desires. You most likely will still have monsters that you can go into. Probably won't lose most of your combo pieces if you're going into Desires. It's really much better to have that draw 2. You're most likely to lose your spells anyway, which doesn't matter. We have multiple copies of all of them. And of course, Pot of Extravagance, same thing. If you lose 6 of your extra deck monsters, it's probably not going to be a big deal. It could be a big deal. It could be dangerous, but you may want to swap this out for a pot of... What's the other one? No, I know this. I like this pot. I like the... But you may want to swap this out for a Pot of Prosperity instead, which allows you to choose the monsters that you get rid of, but it only gives you 1 card. I find that with this deck, it is more helpful to have the draw 2. Gets extra cards in your hand through discards, and just gets you multiple combo pieces. Basically, everything in this deck is a combo piece, so there's no specific cards to go into, but if you're worried about losing cards from your extra deck, then Prosperity is definitely a viable option, but it probably won't matter that much losing 6 cards from your extra deck. You should still have plenty of boss monsters that you can go into. Finally, we have 2 copies of XYZ Combine. XYZ Combine isn't the best card, but it is definitely helpful. If you're going into your ABC, you want to have XYZ Combine on the field, which will allow you to go into any of your XYZ monsters. It is just a really good card, again, for getting more of your combo pieces out, especially for going into any of the XYZ monsters, but it can only go into XYZ. It doesn't help you with ABC, it doesn't help you with VW, just XYZ. So this is definitely a good card to have, but wouldn't run it at more than 2 copies. Maybe even only at 1 copy. Like I said before, you can add another Ash Blossom or Dark Ruler No More if you prefer. Alright, so that is it for the main deck. Now we shall go into the extra deck, which is pretty straightforward. We run basically all of the A to Z monsters, plus a few extra XCs and Link monsters to really help us go off and finish off the opponent. So starting off, we have one copy of A to Z Dragon Buster Cannon. This is our main big boss monster. We have two big boss monsters. We have A to Z, and of course we have VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon, which is still a lot of fun to say. These cards are really good boss monsters, good for finishing off your opponent, especially A to Z, whose effect, he has a quick effect. During either player's turn, you can banish this card to target one of your banished A, B, C, and XYZ Dragon Cannon, special summon them, so you can actually attack with this card, and then use that effect to banish it and special summon two more boss monsters on the field, and really just, like, that's OTK right there most of the time. That is a really good effect, and of course has his negate effect to discard one card, negate a spell, trap, or monster effect, so that is fantastic, and he has 4,000 attack. Next up, of course, we have VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon. This card is summoned with VW Tiger Catapult and XYZ Dragon Cannon. Once per turn, you can banish one card your opponent controls, and when it attacks, you get to change the battle position of the monster it attacks. If you want, you don't have to, so anything it attacks goes straight into attack mode, unless you can't get over in its attack, in which case it goes straight to defense mode. He's got 3,000 attack and just banishes banishes everything once per turn. Fantastic boss monster. Either of these cards are really great to go into for controlling the field and finishing off your opponent. Next up, we have our two mini boss monsters. We have two copies of ABC Dragon Buster. We want to run this card at 2 because it is the main one that we're going to go into. ABC is a lot easier to get out, as you can banish the materials from your field or graveyard, not just from your field, unlike the rest of them. And it has the effect that during your opponent's turn, you can tribute this card, target 3 of your banished Light Machine Union monsters with different names, mainly your ABCs, and then special summon them to the field. This is a really good effect, especially if you have Union Hanger on the field. That will get you a 4th card on the field. So we definitely want to run 2 copies of ABC because we're going to use that effect on our opponent's turn, tribute it, special summon its materials, and then on our turn we're going to fuse those materials again to go into ABC once more. So definitely need 2 copies of this card. 3 is a little bit much though. Next up, we have one copy of XYZ Dragon Cannon. This is, one of the main cards in the deck, allows us to go into A to Z and, of course, B to Z. This is a really great card. Its effect to discard a card to destroy any card your opponent controls. This is not a once per turn effect, so you can use it as much as you want. It's fantastic. Next up, we have our mini boss monsters. We have VW Tiger Catapult. This card is really only here to summon V to Z. It doesn't have much other use. It's not that good of a card, to be honest. It's probably better to have a V Tiger Jet equipped with W Wing Catapult. Though its effect is somewhat useful, it's just most likely not really going to use that effect. It's really just there to go into B to Z. And of course we have one copy of XY Dragon Cannon and one XZ Tank Cannon. These cards are both good for getting rid of your opponent's spell and traps. They're not fantastic, they have a decent amount of attack. You probably won't go into them, but there are plenty of situations where you would have either only X or Y or only X and Z. But in most cases, once you get 2 of them, you also have the ability to go into the 3rd one and go into XYZ, so usually we won't be going into either of these monsters, but I just like to have them in just to include them and give us a bit more options. It's not, you don't need them, you can swap them out for something else if you want, but I just like having them, makes the deck a bit more fun and just gives us some more options. Next up we have our XC's monsters. We have one copy of Gear Gigan X. This card, you probably won't go into this card as much as we have enough cards in the main deck to get our combo pieces, but Gear Gigan X is just good for getting like your final machine monster that you need to go into, your final fusion material. He's especially good to summon off of your gadget monsters to then do that, but in most cases you won't really need to go into this because once you have that final material in your hand, you then won't be able to special summon it, so it's a good card, definitely good to have. You can, of course, you can go into it and then use this and one other monster to go into Platinum Gadget to get that special summon, so that is a decent play if you can do it. But yeah, usually we have enough cards in the deck to get our fusion materials anyway. Next up we have one copy of Tornado Dragon. I originally had Nightmare Phoenix, but decided that Tornado Dragon was a little bit better. While you can't go into it with anything, you can go into it with pretty much anything from our main deck, and it is just a slightly better card the Nightmare Phoenix in the fact that you don't have to discard, and of course it has higher attack. Not having to discard is really good for this deck because all of our boss monsters require a discard, so that is definitely helpful. However, keep in mind that not having the discard of Nightmare Phoenix means you can't use it to get off Ocean Magic, but we have plenty of other cards to get off Ocean Magic anyway, including Unicorn, so it's up to you if you want to include Phoenix instead of Tornado Dragon, but I decided that Tornado Dragon was just a little bit better for those emergencies where we really need to get rid of a spell and trap card. Next up for our Link monsters, first we have one copy of Platinum Gadget. Platinum Gadget is really good to have, like I've discussed before. Being able to special summon your third fusion material is really like something that this deck kind of lacks and really needs more of, is just going into that third material. So we need a lot of cards that allow us to go into that third material. Platinum Gadget will allow us to summon a level 4 or lower machine monster from our hand to a zone this card points to, which just helps with that, and you won't go into it that often, but when you need it, it's there. Next up we have some more basic cards. We have one copy of IP Masquerena, one copy of Nightmare Unicorn, one copy of Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and finally one copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. These are all here just to control your opponent's field, get rid of nasty things, stop effects, you know, that sort of thing. The main reason that everyone runs these cards. So that is it for Manjoume's V to Z, or in this case A to Z deck. I hope you like this deck. Give this a try for yourself. Let me know what you think. Let me know any improvements that you have made to your version of the deck, or any suggestions for this deck, just to make it a bit better. I think this deck is a lot of fun. It is fairly decent. It's not like tier 1 or anything, but I went up against a bunch of tier 2 and 3 decks with this deck, and it pulled through in the end. It's really good at the heavy OTK with your fusion monsters. Yeah, it's really optimized to be able to go into either of these boss monsters, A to Z, B to Z. ABC is really easy as well, so just the ability to go into these monsters, especially V to Z, which is normally like really hard to get out, but this deck kind of pulls it off quite easily if you have the right cards, and if you don't, you can very easily go into A to Z instead, which is a friggin' like fantastic boss monster in itself, probably better than V to Z, but of course Manjoume runs V to Z. So this is, yeah, Manjoume's V to Z deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and thank you all very much for watching. If you're interested in Manjoume's decks, I'm doing all of them. I already did his Chthonian deck last week, so be sure to check that out by clicking the playlist, or clicking, you know, the little eye symbol in the corner. Click that, it'll come up. It's fantastic. Yeah, so if you're interested in Manjoume's decks, I'll be doing the rest of his decks in the following weeks to come, including his manga decks, if you like those too. Again, check out the merch in the shop for Manjoume merch, and yeah, subscribe if you want to see more of Manjoume's decks. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name has been Senkara, and until next time, see ya.